Good morning, church. Find your seats. This morning we're going to be focusing in on the theme of how great our God is and just his awesomeness. So please stand with me now that you found your seats and let us focus in on the great I am. I want to be close to your side, so heaven is real and death is a lie. I want to hear voices of angels above, singing as one, hallelujah, holy, holy, God Almighty, great I am, who is worthy, none beside thee, God Almighty, great I am. I want to be near to your heart, loving the world, hating the dark. I want to see dry bones living again, singing as one, hallelujah, holy, holy, God Almighty, the great I am, who is worthy, none beside thee, God Almighty, great I am. The mountains shake before you, the demons run and flee. At the mention of your name, King of majesty, there is no power in hell or any who can stand before the power and the presence of the great I am. 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 Hallelujah. Holy, holy, God Almighty, great I am, who is worthy, none beside thee, God Almighty, great I am. Hallelujah. Holy, holy, God Almighty, great I am, who is worthy, none beside thee, God Almighty, great I am.
Right. If you're not awake yet, you're not going to wake up. Have seats. Welcome. We're excited to have you with us today as we gather together and worship God, our great I am. That's the goal, right? A couple of quick announcements. I know you're looking at me and you're saying, "Boy, Pastor Dan looks really sharp today. He looks really good wearing the old church swag." Well, now you have an opportunity to get new church swag. Now, we've got some we got some flyers on the back table. They're on the doors. There's a little QR code there. So if you're not sure how to use a QR code, you find the nearest 10-year-old and ask them to help you. There is a website there as well. There was a website, I believe, on the Facebook stream that you can link to, and you can order your Mayville First Baptist Church swag. And I encourage you to do that. That is basically it's just the cost of the clothing. It's not a fundraiser. There's no money that comes to us or anything like that. It's just an opportunity for you to proudly represent your church in the community around us. So that's available for you as well. Back table, we've got for the last Sunday our sign-up sheet for Trunk or Treat. Encourage you to sign up for that. Now listen, there's been several people, not just the one person who came to me this morning. Right? It wasn't just that individual going, "My pastor, it's going to rain. It's going to be cold." Well, duh. Are we not still in Western New York? Okay. Yeah, if it's like really bad weather, we're still on. Those kids are going to come out, and they're going to be all dressed up in their costumes, and they're going to be out begging for candy or looking for things to vandalize, and we need to make sure that we're here and we're ready to help them out. If it's bad weather, you ready for this? That's right. Thank you. Thank you, Galen. If it's really bad weather, we always have the option of moving into here. But that's going to be really crowded, and that means we got to take extra time to get chairs put up and different things like that. So that's going to be a game time decision. I would plan on being outside in our cars. We may need some extra help to hold the tents down. We've had that happen in the past, but we will persevere. We will meet our community, and we'll have opportunities to just share the love of Christ and to bless them in a lot of different ways. So if you want to sign up, you're more than welcome to do that. If you've got friends who are like, we don't want to just sit at home because nobody comes to our home, we have plenty of parking spots, and they're welcome to bring their car, decorate or not, doesn't matter. I'm going to be honest with you. The kids are looking not at the decorations. They're scoping out what kind of candy you're handing out. All right? So I encourage you to be a part of that. It's always, always, always a fun night, and usually a high sugar night for some of us. So it'll be good. Next week on that table, instead of our Trunk or Treat sign-up sheet, we're going to start having the information and sign-up sheets for our Thanksgiving dinner. We're going to do our Thanksgiving dinner right up here in the auditorium, right after the morning service on the Sunday before Thanksgiving, which I believe is the 23rd. And we are going to, once again, church will provide the turkey, and we're going to rely on everyone else to provide all of the goodies, the stuffing and the potatoes and all of those other things that go along with that. We'll have sign-up sheet. We'll have more information for you available next week. Encourage you again, be part of that. We will be looking for some volunteers to help not just cook turkeys, but also to come in probably Saturday and do the shredding and getting things ready so that on Sunday we can get them down into the broilers and get them warmed up so that while we're having church service, we will have that smell of turkey coming up, and just encouraging us there. It's a great time to just kind of hang out and catch up with others as well. So more information will be coming in the following weeks. After our morning service, if you are part of our junior church workers team or you're part of our nursery team, there's going to be a quick meeting in that room right over there, right after the morning service. So please make sure if you're involved in that ministry to be into that. I'm sorry? Or if you want to be. So I expect a mad stampede heading that direction. Now, if you are interested in working with the student ministries in that area, nursery, junior church, that is a good meeting for you to be a part of as well. I'm going to read this morning from Philippians chapter 2, verses 5 through 11. This is a passage I think we've read, I'm going to say maybe close to 4 or 5 different times over the last year, just because it keeps coming up in our discussion on things like surrender and submission and discipleship. In this passage, Paul's writing to the church there at Philippi, and he says that you got to have this mindset that is willing to surrender different parts of our life, right? We've talked the last couple of weeks about surrendering our pride. We've talked about surrendering our sin. And this morning, we're going to talk about surrendering our rights. Now, I'm just going to tell you right up front, this is not going to be a political message. I'm not here to say you've got to give up certain unalienable rights that you have been granted through the Constitution. I'm going to talk honestly about more important rights that we might even hold on to more dearly. And I want us to see from Philippians chapter 2 what Christ's mindset was when it came time to surrender his rights. Look at verse 5. Philippians 2, verse 5 down through verse 11. Paul writes, "You must have the same attitude that Christ Jesus had. Though he was God, he did not think of equality with God as something to cling to. Instead, he gave up, and we could say he surrendered his divine privileges. He took the humble position of a slave and was born as a human being. And when he appeared in human form, verse 8, he humbled himself in obedience to God, and he died a criminal's death on a cross. Therefore, God elevated him to the place of highest honor and gave him the name above all other names, that at the name of Jesus, every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue declare that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father." And that's what our goal should be, not just today, but every day of our life, is to profess the honor and the glory of Jesus Christ, not just with our tongue, but as Paul said, with our knees, right? In our actions, in our behaviors, in our thoughts. We need to surrender if we're really going to follow Christ. Let's go to him in prayer this morning. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love, your presence in our lives. We thank you, Lord, for that redeeming power that we saw just laid out so clearly in your coming, in your dying, and in your resurrection. And God, we are grateful for who you are in our lives as our Lord and our Savior. And I ask, Lord, that you would help us, that we would have the same mindset, the same attitude that you have towards these privileges and these rights that we hold on to in our life. God, give us a heart that is just so intentionally focused on being obedient to you that we'll be able to deny ourselves, to pick up our cross, and to follow you daily. We want to be the people that you have called us to be. And so we ask that you would just give us insight and wisdom and strength and even determination and passion to live up to this name of Christian that we carry. Lord, we lift up a number of our family and friends, our circles who are struggling in this day, and others who are just very much giving you praise. Lord, we lift up Tom Marsh. We are grateful, Lord, that his surgery went well, that he is recovering nicely. He's getting up and around a little bit. And Father, we pray that you would just continue to help his body heal. We think of the liver and the removal of the cancer and the portion that they took out, Lord, that you would just bring quick healing there to him. Give him strength. Be with his family during this time as well and protect them. Keep them focused on you through these days. Lord, we lift up Bill Jackson, the family. And we ask, Lord, as the days continue, and Lord, that just during the season of time, you would bless Bill in many ways. Give him confidence in you as Lord and Savior. Help him just with each day, Lord, to be grateful for the breath that he has and still be looking forward to the day when that next breath is in heaven with you. Lord, be with the family, be with Anne especially as she has opportunities to just continue to live out her faith and her family. And Lord, that we would see great things done there because of the faithfulness of those who believe in you. We continue to praise you for Carl, that he's doing well, that he's home, that he is recovering nicely. We ask that you just keep him safe. Help him not to rush through his healing and his recovery time, but you would just help him to be patient. I know he's probably like all of us, looking around at all the things that could be done or need to be done and wanting to do it. But Lord, just help him to be patient. Help his body to continue to heal and to recover. And we pray for Callie Delkamp as they continue to deal with the cancer. Lord, as they continue to get answers and questions and answers and questions. And Lord, just in all of these things, we pray that you would just show yourself to be so faithful to them and that they would see your hand, even in the delays, even in what seem to be obstacles, even in the trials. see you. Lord, we continue to pray for Lee as he's been diagnosed with this leukemia. He's been up at Rochester. Lord, I just pray that you would just continue to bless, be with the doctors as they continue to investigate, determine treatment steps, and just all that's involved in dealing with leukemia. God, I pray that you would protect. Again, Lord, we ask above the physical healing that you would bring spiritual healing to those in this family who need it, that their hearts and their minds, their eyes would just be so drawn to you in these hours, that they would know you in a new, intimate way. And we continue to lift up the Stephan family. We just think of the trials that they've been going through with health, with Dougie and Tammy and Erica, Lord, and just all of the different things that they've been facing. This last few weeks have just been so intense. And I pray, Lord, first for your peace on them. I pray for your strength to be on them. We ask for wisdom for the doctors. We think especially of Tammy as she goes in for some more tests and biopsies later this week. Lord, those tests would produce good findings, and the findings would then produce treatment plans, and treatment plans would ultimately produce results. Lord, we just ask for your healing in all of these situations. And there's just so many others. Lord, we think of Brent, we think of Marshall, we think of Tim as he continues to recover, we think of Barb Quick, and Lord, just all of these individuals who are hurting and struggling and going through difficulties. And Lord, we lift up those that we don't know about. I know many in this room are probably holding on to things that they're struggling with in different levels and different ways. And I'm grateful, Lord, that you know each of the hurts that we deal with. I'm grateful, Lord, that you love us and care for us and provide for us. And I ask in all these things, Lord, that you would just give us wisdom and patience as we wait on you. Lord, I lift up Ailey and Sonia as they've headed up north to the churches there in Togo. And they would have a great week or two just visiting those churches, encouraging them, but also kind of a time away as a family. You would protect them and give them the rest that they need. I think especially of Ailey, just a lot of the stress that's falling on his shoulders with the building and the churches and the pastors, and just being looked at by so many as a provider in so many different ways. God, continue to give him wisdom, give him that heart that he needs as he serves you. Lord, I think of Phil and Barb Klump, who are going to be with us next week. Opportunity to get a report on their ministry, especially how it's changed over these last couple of years, and just to be an encouragement to them. I pray, Lord, that you would bless them and keep Phil healthy, keep his mind strong, his body strong as they continue to fight through the Alzheimer's. God, we ask that during the service this morning, you would just help us to focus on you in this moment. I know there's a lot of distractions. There's so many things that are just pulling our hearts and our minds in so many different directions. Father, I pray that you would just help us in this time to be at peace because we are in your presence and we're waiting to hear from you through the music, through the prayers, through the reading of Scripture, the preaching. God, I thank you so much for this church. I thank you for the people of this church. And I pray, Lord, that as we continue to look for opportunities to reach out to our community, to be the hands and feet of Christ, to truly follow you in how we are called to, that we would be faithful. Help us, Lord, to be true disciples in all that we do. We ask this in Christ's name.
Please stand with us as we continue to focus in on the greatness of our God, the God of angel armies, and whom shall we fear? You hear me when I call, you are my morning song. Though darkness fills the night, it cannot hide the light. Whom shall I fear? You crush the enemy underneath my feet. You are my sword and shield, no rebel linger still. Whom shall I fear? I know who goes before me, I know who stands behind. The God of angel armies is always by my side. The one who reigns forever, he is a friend of mine. The God of angel armies is always by my side. My strength is in your name, for you alone can save. You will deliver me, yours is a victory. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I fear? I know who goes before me, I know who stands behind. The God of angel armies is always by my side. The one who reigns forever, he is a friend of mine. The God of angel armies is always by my side. And nothing formed against me shall stand. You hold the whole world in your hand. I'm holding on to your promises. You are faithful, you are faithful, and nothing formed against me shall stand. You hold the whole world in your hand. I'm holding on to your promises. You are faithful, you are faithful, you are faithful. I know who goes before me, I know who stands behind. The God of angel armies is always by my side. The one who reigns forever, he is a friend of mine. The God of angel armies is always by my side. I know who goes before me, I know who stands behind. The God of angel armies is always by my side. The one who reigns forever, he is a friend of mine. The God of angel armies is always by my side. The God of angel armies is always by my side. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God, and all will see how great is our God. Defender of the King, clothed in majesty, let all the earth rejoice, let all the earth rejoice. great I am, the God of angel armies, and I just praise you for your power, for your splendor that you display in the universe and just all around us. Thank you so much for your greatness and power. In your name, amen.
All right, have a seat. And kids, you can head to the back for junior church. And I think, yeah, they know what they're doing. Just go. I'm glad the kids are in control. The rest of you take your Bibles and turn to Mark chapter 9. Mark chapter 9. We're just going to be looking at two verses today, verses 49 through 50. And what happens at the end of chapter 9 is we're kind of coming to this end of kind of that insider glimpse that we have had at Jesus teaching his disciples. Remember back partway through, I think it was chapter 8, Jesus pulled his disciples aside, and he kind of got rid of everybody else. He's like, all right, guys, let's sit down and let's have a conversation. And this whole conversation has been focused simply on what does it mean to truly follow him, to follow Christ on his terms. Now, we've called this discipleship a couple different things, right? We called it upside-down discipleship because as we look through what Jesus talks about, he kind of takes this whole concept of discipleship and just flips it around on us. We could also, and we have called it extreme discipleship because the expectations that Jesus lays out, I mean, if we're going to be honest, right, they are far greater than the expectations that we often have for ourselves as disciples in modern Christianity. Right? We go this far, and Jesus says, no, let's go farther. And so it feels so extreme to us. It feels upside down to us. The kind of the ironic thing in all this is, you know what Jesus calls true discipleship? He simply says, follow me. Right? No deep, difficult, convoluted system to figure out. Just follow me. And so that's kind of the key with what we're looking at as we go. And so now Jesus is wrapping up that time. Kids are in the back. Boys are back there. They are. One moment. Oh, run! Run! Oh, my goodness. Goodness. Now, last week we talked about surrendering what two things? We're talking. Let's go. What two things have we talked about over the last 2 weeks that we are called to surrender? Pride and what else? It's hard to hear you all when you talk at the same time, so just, All right, it starts with the letter S, and it ends with in. Sin. Very good. Very good. We shouldn't have that hard of a time saying that word. I mean, come on. Right? We talked about the fact that we were supposed to surrender our pride, and we looked again at the disciples in like multiple examples where the disciples were kind of struggling with that whole idea of pride. And Jesus kept saying, hey, the first is going to need to be last. The greatest needs to be the least. The one who wants to be on top has to learn how to serve. And then last week we looked at the idea of surrendering our sin. And remember what Jesus said? It's better to go through this life with just one hand or one foot or one eye as opposed to facing God's judgments when we hold on to sin. And so that's the groundwork that Christ has laid. And can we just be honest for a minute? Shouldn't we as Christians be able to surrender our pride and our sin? Shouldn't that just be kind of the natural outflow? We give our lives to Christ, and that should just be like the next step. And the reality is we struggle to let these things go. And where we struggle with surrendering our pride and our sin, I'm going to say we struggle in the same way with surrendering our rights. And these last two verses in the 9th chapter of Mark are going to confront us on what we consider to be personal rights, privileges, things that we believe we are entitled to. Now, these couple verses, they can be a little bit confusing because of some of the imagery, the pictures that are used. But I think by the time we get to the end of the sermon today, we'll have a better understanding of what it means not just to give up our rights, but how giving up our rights helps us to just be more committed to Christ. Let me read Mark 9, verses 49 through 50. We'll pray, and then we're going to get into this very powerful couple verses. Mark 9:49. For everyone will be tested with fire. Salt is good for seasoning, but if it loses its flavor, how do you make it salty again? You must have the qualities of salt among yourselves and live in peace with each other. Let's ask God's blessing on his word. Father, as we approach this text today, this passage that just kind of confronts us head on about continuing to live a life of self-denial and submission, to surrender. I pray you would help us to see not just what the text says, not just some ideas that we could maybe implement into our lives, but God, I pray you would convict each and every one of us, including me. We would be convicted of those areas that we're holding on to more than we're holding on to you. And we would surrender those things. Not because we have to, but that, God, we would want to, so that we can be closer and closer to you. We ask this in your name. As we get into verse 49, Jesus continues to use this theme of fire. Remember last week, we saw that reference to fire multiple times. And can we just be honest? None of them were like good. All right, this isn't the campfire, singing kumbaya, roasted marshmallows kind of fire. This is judgment. This is consequence. This is why Jesus said it's better to cut out sin, even if it's a drastic measure, in this life, so that you don't face the judgments of God in the next. Now here in verse 49, he's going to switch the emphasis, or what that picture of fire is about. Now instead of the consequence, instead of being punitive, now it's going to be a representation of what we're going to call testing or trials, right? Fire is used to refine. And we're pretty comfortable with this idea because he also brings in salt. Now we know that throughout the New Testament, fire and salt are used as these pictures of both refining and purification and preservation. I'll give you a couple of verses. You can write these down if you want. We're not going to really dig into these, but they're just pretty blunt. In Malachi chapter 3, verses 2 through 3, God speaking through the prophet, he says this: he was going to be, the Messiah would be like a blazing fire that refines metal, burning away the dross or the impurities of our life. In Zechariah 13:9, God says, I will bring Israel through the fire and make them pure. Jump to the New Testament. Peter wrote in 1 Peter 1, verses 6 and 7, that we are called to endure trials in this life, and there's a purpose for those trials, right? The trials will show that our faith is genuine. It's being tested as fire tests and purifies gold. And then Christ himself said in Matthew chapter 5, remember the Sermon on the Mount? And he's talking to his disciples. Of course, there's a large crowd around him, but he's really focused his attention on those who are following him. And remember what he says? You are to be the salt of the earth. In other words, if you're a disciple, if you're following Christ, you are to be a purifier and a preserver in this world. Now in verse 49, Jesus makes it very clear that everyone is going to be tested. And again, in this case, the fires represent how fire refines, and salt purifies through the different trials that we face in our life. And I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand at this moment, but just think about it. Every single person here probably today, and those at home, you're going through some kind of trial in this moment. It may not be the most severe trial you've ever faced, but it's still a trial. It may be the worst thing you've ever had to deal with, and you may be sitting here today going, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how this plays out. I am honestly scared of what I'm going through because I just am struggling in the fire. And I hope that you will see that God takes these trials of life and he uses them for several purposes. Ultimately, though, it's to make us to be more and more like him. Trials helped us to identify the pride and the sins that are in our life. Trials help us to cling more to Jesus than we do to family and the safety nets that we've built up around us in our life. This is just the reality of being a disciple. If you're going to follow Christ, you are going to be dealing with trials. And the purpose of these trials is this refinement. We've seen different videos, I'm sure. Maybe you've been a part of it in the electronics industry that I was in for a long time. Right? There was a lot of metals. We dealt a lot with solder. And solder comes in, it's a solid material, but when you apply heat to it, it turns into liquid. And we had this machine that initially I was really impressed by it. But then I realized how poorly made it was, and it was very frustrating. But you would put a circuit board in on one end, and you have all these little itty-bitty parts. And it would go across this conveyor belt, and it would go across a solder pot. So the solder is molten, it's melted. And as it would go across that, the solder would kind of wick up into the parts, and it would just seal everything down. And when the board came out at the end, a little bit of cleaning, and it should work well. It should work well. The problem we had at one point is there's this little mechanism that in between the boards, or at a certain amount of time, it's this little wiper. It would wipe across the top of the solder pots, and it would drag all the impurities, all the dross, all the bleh, out of the way. Because if those little impurities get caught up in one of the leads on those boards, guess what? You might have a short. You might have a discontinuity. You may have problems where it does not work the way it's supposed to. And if you go into this process assuming that wiper's working every time, I'm just hypothetically saying that you might end up with a couple thousand circuit boards that don't work. We've got to remove the dross from our lives. And that's the picture. Jesus says very clearly, and listen, if we do a deep Greek study on this word everyone, guess what it means? Everyone, right? Again, I don't do hard questions. Everyone who's following Christ will be tested with fire. We will face trials. But again, the trials aren't to punish us. This isn't God's way of getting back at us. Oh, you didn't read enough verses this morning. I'm going to put this slow driver in front of you to teach you a lesson. The purpose is always to bring us into closer, deeper, more intimate relationship with God. So as that fire, as that heat melts the metal and the dross comes to the surface, we are called as Christians to put off the old man, to put to death the old sin nature. And instead we wipe those out and we put on and we bring to life the new nature that we have in Christ. This is what James was telling us in James chapter 1, verses 2, 3, and 4. Listen to this. Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you'll be perfect and complete, needing nothing. We don't like trials. We don't want trials, right? We want comforts, not affliction. We want ease, not difficulties. But Jesus says not only are you going to be tested and tried, but that testing, those trials will bring maturity. Verse 50, salt is good for seasoning. How many of you like salt? Okay, I'm not alone. Salt is good. right? It tastes good. You can look at a recipe, or you can look at the food, and it looks great and fine, but if you taste it and there's no salt in there, you just kind of know. There's something missing. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not the kind of guy that can sit there and go, what this needs a little bit of paprika. Or this needs a little bit of oregano. But I can always say, ooh, this needs some salt. Salt has a very distinguishing taste to it, doesn't it? Throughout Scripture, again, we see this idea that salt is kind of that preservative, it's that purifier, it's a sign of maturity, and we're growing in Christ. Jesus has been explaining to his disciples what true discipleship really looks like. And he uses salt, it's this characteristic, it's what makes the follower of Christ distinct and different from everybody else around them. There's just something in a true disciple that stands out. And Jesus here says that is the salt in that person's life. But look at how verse 50 continues. He says salt is good for seasoning, but it loses its flavor. How do you make it salty again? Can you take salt and add salt and make it salty? I mean, that's silly. But it's kind of a silly picture, isn't it? How does salt lose its saltiness? How does it lose its flavor? If it doesn't taste like salt, it's not salt. It could be anything. It may look like salt, it may feel like salt, it may have the same weight as salt and the same sound as salt. If it doesn't taste like salt, it's not salt. Jesus is saying that, he's painting this picture that as disciples of Christ, it is possible. Right? There's a risk that as we live through our life, as we go through our days, there's a chance that we can lose that distinct flavor, a distinct characteristic that makes us stand out, makes us different than the world. We can lose our saltiness. We know a lot of people who call themselves Christians, sound like Christians, put on all the outward actions and the tasks and the checklists of being a Christian, but they're not really Christians. Because they don't taste like salt. Right? People who compromise the truth. People who fail to be obedient to God and his leading. People who just generally refuse to follow Jesus on his terms. They look and feel like salt, but they don't taste salty. Jesus is saying, listen, you need to be careful so that you never lose the flavor of Christ and who he is in your life. That you never lose that distinctiveness that separates you from the world. I'm confident, and we see this in Scripture, right? There's going to be a lot of people standing before God on the day of judgment. He's going to say, I'm sorry, I don't know you. But we did all these things. And we even did them in your name. And we went to church, and we gave money to the church and to missions, and we did all these things. We lived good lives. And yet Jesus says, you've lost the saltiness that you should have. And I think one of the sticking points that Christians are going to have and continue to deal with in their life is this idea that I want to follow Christ, but I want to follow him on my terms. I want to surrender 98%. But this little slice in my life, I'm not giving that up. And the reality is that 98% might more realistically be 50%, 35%. I'm not really good at math, but I go to church on Sundays, that's an hour and a half. That's 2 hours. Okay, no, that's 3 hours. So 3 out of 24, 12.5%. And we're going to stand before God one day, and we're going to say, but I gave you every Sunday morning when the weather wasn't beautiful out. I didn't have other plans. I gave you portions of my life. How can I not be a disciple? boils back to we've got to follow Christ on his term. And the struggle we have is that we want to hold on to these rights that we think we have. Christ says, surrender those things. Give up those rights. And he closes this out with another interesting statement in verse 50. Continues on, he says, have salt in yourselves and be at peace, or live in peace with one another. What's one of the main reasons we struggle to have peace in this life? I mean, if we want to say it's everybody else, right? If I didn't have to deal with that, and I would make sure I don't point anybody on accidentally. If I have to deal with that person, man, my life would be so much easier. Right? You've heard me say it. If it wasn't in the manufacturing, or if it wasn't for customers, vendors, and employees, I would really enjoy my job. We struggle to have peace at work. We struggle to have peace at home. You know, we struggle to have peace in our own hearts. And you know what the main reason is? Listen to James chapter 4, 1 and 2. James asks a very important question. He says, what's causing the quarrels and the fights? What's causing you to lose your peace and allow it to be taken from you? Don't they come from the evil desires at war with you? You want what you don't have, so you scheme and you kill to get it. You are jealous of what others have, but you can't get it, so you fight and you wage war to take it away from them. Many times a failure to surrender our rights leads us to not peace, but the exact opposite, conflict and brokenness and heartache. We see something that we want, and because we don't have it, we work out plans, we scheme in order to get it. Greatest example in the world. You ready? Some of you parents, just sit back because this might cause some trauma. I'm going to use my kids as an example. When the fourth greatest bane of a parent was invented and started to sell widespread, that's the Nerf gun, we bought one of our children the Nerf gun. And you know what happened, right? Immediately, that son, who will be nameless, started to shoot his brothers. Now, I don't know if it was the retaliation factor or just simply the idea that he's got a gun, I want a gun. But what happened? They started to quarrel. I know, shock. He's got something I don't have. That's not fair. Ugh. And so what happens? Well, for a while they started to just really quarrel and fight. Like they would go at each other, and of course, Dad would step in and take the gun away. Now, neither of you have it, so there. And I'd go in the back room and shoot it myself. Eventually, my kids realized, you know what? Mom or Dad are going to step in, and they're going to take our toy away. And the next logical step that we would want them to go to is, instead of fighting over it, we will share. That is not the next logical step in the mind of a child. So what I walked in on is this bartering session going on. And it went something like this. I may not remember it correctly. I said, oh, you got a Nerf gun. I've got a piece of paper. Look how beautiful it is. It's clean. It could be a tube. It could be a square. It could be a rectangle. Right? They were just trying to convince the other person to trade some silly little trinket for what was the prized toy at the moment. They're scheming. How can I get this? I deserve it. It's my right. Nerf guns weren't invented in James chapter 4, but I think that's the principle James is saying. You look at each other and you see what they have, and you see what they have, and sometimes you look and you see what you're going through and the struggles, and they're not going through it, and what do? It's not fair. Why do they get and I don't? Why do I have to deal with and they don't? Jesus says we've got to surrender our rights. Right? When we're salty in the Jesus way, we will have great peace internally. We'll have peace with others as well. Extreme discipleship calls on us as followers of Christ to surrender what we're going to call our perceived rights, those things that we believe we deserve simply because we're Christians, because we're good people, we're not as bad as that other person. We believe we're entitled to certain things. Now, you notice I haven't named these perceived rights, and the reason is there's a whole lot of them. I'm going to go through 5 perceived rights that we have, I think, as Christians. And again, as I walk through this, I am not thinking of anyone in particular except myself. And if you kind of like cower just a little bit when you hear one of these, that's not me, that's the Spirit. Or it's your spouse. But either way, listen to some of these things, and you process through this. Is this a right that I think I have? What about this? The right to a life of comforts and convenience. Listen, I'm all for being comfortable. I'm all for convenience. I like that. But you know what? Too many times as Christians, we fall for this lie that I can follow Christ, I can be a true disciple, and it's not going to cause a lot of disruption in my life, right? I can still do what I want to do. I can still follow my plans, my agenda, and I'm just going to add a little Jesus into the mix. I think back to how Jesus defined discipleship. Help me out with this. He said, first of all, we need to deny ourselves. What was the second part of that? Pick up our cross and what? Follow him. I don't know about you. That sounds kind of disruptive to me. Right? Because my initial plan when I wake up in the morning isn't to deny myself. It's to appease myself. It's to keep working on what I want and what I want to do. And Jesus says, no, deny yourself. In other words, disrupt your status quo. Set aside your desires and follow me. Now, when we let go of this expectation that we have that discipleship should be comfortable, you know what we find? Suffering. And we do everything we can to avoid suffering. But I want to tell you today, suffering can be a sacred moment in our walk with God. It can be something that not only is set apart in itself for God's purposes, but something that helps us to set ourself apart for him. Right? That refining fire that God uses to purify our hearts, to get rid of the dross, to get rid of this self-centeredness that we struggle with. Is following Christ disruptive? Yes. And here's why. It's pulling us away from the world, and it's pulling us towards Christ. And because we are grounded in the world, because we have the sin nature, that is absolutely 100% disruptive. But it's a disruption we desperately need in our lives. How about this one? We often think that we have a right to safety or protection from trials, right? This is the whole unicorns and butterflies and sprinkles. I've given my life to Christ, and now that means that I will no longer have to face difficulties. I'll no longer have to deal with struggles or anything like that. No hardship, no danger. Well, let's look at Scripture on this, right? I mean, obviously, right here in Mark chapter 9, verse 49, Jesus says, everyone, and again, that's not everyone, and says, he's talking to his disciples, if you're following Christ, you are going to be tested. 2 Timothy 3, Paul is writing to Timothy, and he says this, and maybe if this isn't clear, let me know, and we'll deal with it a little bit more. He says, everyone who wants to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will suffer persecution. It's pretty blunt. It's pretty clear. Jesus himself in John 16, verse 33, right? Now we're up in the upper room. And in just hours, Jesus is going to be taken before the authorities and ultimately crucified. Verse 33, he looks at his disciples and he says, I'm telling you all of these things. And what is that, all of these things? He's basically said already, hey, one of you is going to betray me. One of you is going to deny me. All of you are going to abandon me. I'm going to be arrested. I'm going to be persecuted. I'm going to be beaten and tortured, and I'm going to die. But then I'm going to rise again. And Jesus says, listen, I'm telling you guys all of these things so that you may have peace in me. That doesn't make much sense. Where does the peace come in? Well, he continues. He says, here on this earth, in this life, you're going to have trials, you're going to have sorrows, but take heart, because I have overcome the world. He says, listen, you're going to have trials, you're going to have struggles, but don't dismay. Don't just abandon your faith. Don't walk away from God, because here's the reality of it. Yes, this world is broken, and yes, you are struggling, and yes, you're going to be tried, but God's already won. And we're just waiting for the pieces to play out. God is in control. And we have this idea that it's supposed to be safe and easy, that we should be able to not have trials in our life. If we can let go of this right to safety and protection, and this idea that we should be spared from every difficulty that comes across our path, we're going to be strengthened through our suffering to be more and more like Christ. How about this one? How about the right to influence outcomes? Don't we think that we can persuade or convince God to do what we want to do? Don't we go through the whole mindset, man, if I just prayed harder, if I just had more faith, if I just made the right negotiation with God, all right, God, if you help me out here, I will, and you can fill in the blank. At the bare minimum, don't we feel like we deserve a say, a vote in how God handles us and how he directs us? And aren't we upset when things don't go the way we want them to? Again, Scripture tells us very clearly, we're not in control. God is in control. That's Isaiah chapter 55, verses 8 and 9. Right? We read there that God's plans are much greater. They're far beyond anything we can imagine. Just as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are God's ways greater than ours. I want to be in control of everything. I want to influence the outcomes. And yet the reality is, I can't even get a bag of popcorn through the microwave without burning it. How am I going to control life? How am I going to control all the other things that I'm dealing with in this world? And yet when God doesn't act the way I want him to, when he isn't the servant I want him to be, I struggle. We're called to surrender this illusion of control and depend on Christ. When we release our grip on the things of this world, we'll find that we'll be able to grip tightly to our Lord and Savior. I haven't upset you yet. How about this one? Justice. And our perceived idea of what justice is. Again, we have this idea that everything's supposed to be fair. Good deeds should be rewarded. Bad deeds should be punished. And justice should come quickly and at the same level of force I believe it should, which is typically greater for you than me. And when we look at the scoreboard of life and we realize, you know what, it's not playing out the way I think it should. It's not living up to my expectations. Right? We have this tendency to look at God and kind of question, why aren't you punishing this person? Why aren't you blessing this person? I am so thankful that God does not treat me fairly. I am so grateful that the gospel doesn't work on the principle of fairness, because if it did, we would all be destined for hell. We would have no hope. Instead, the gospel works on the principles of grace and mercy. Right? Because he loved us, he sent his son to die for us. When we who could not cover the debt that we have, no matter how good we are, no matter how much we try, no matter what we do, yet Christ goes to the cross and he bears our sin on his body. He allows God's judgment, because judgment must come. He allows that judgment to fall on him instead of me. Oh, I don't want fairness. I want mercy. I want grace. I want the love of Christ in my life. Listen, folks, we're going to be mistreated in this world. Jesus said it himself, right? And he faced the greatest act of unfairness on the cross. But what did he say? They hated me. They're going to hate you. Christ calls his disciples to follow him, to surrender the right of justice, and instead to be salts by loving the people around us. This world is broken. It works on a very different standard of right and wrong, of morality. And Jesus calls us to turn the other cheek, to forgive the unforgivable, and to follow him. That's what true discipleship involves. Now, here's a big one. The right to personal boundaries over kingdom concerns. Now, I'm going to just put a little preamble on this, all right? I am a big proponent of boundaries. There are some people that we need to put boundaries up in our life to protect ourselves against. And there are certain sins in our life that we need to put boundaries and guardrails up to protect us, right? So that we don't get caught into those things. We've talked about that last week with certain sins, right? If you're struggling with alcohol, you don't have your life group at the bar. If you're struggling with overeating and your diet, you don't do the men's fellowship at the buffet. You put up boundaries in your life. But how often do we allow man-made boundaries to prevent us from following and doing kingdom things? I'll give you a couple examples. I got these written down because I'm going to need these. We've got the boundary of comfort. We've talked about this a little bit, right? God calls us to do something. What's our response? Here am I. Send me. No. I'm not really comfortable with that. That's kind of outside of my gift mix that Pastor Dan showed me. That's outside of my bubble. I don't want to do that. And so we've got this fake boundary up that says I don't have to follow God. I don't have to be obedient in a sense because it drags me out of my comfort zone. So boundary becomes a shield that we hide behind and justification for not being obedient and following. What about this one? The boundary of time. Right, we set limits around our schedule. I can serve, I can do that, but only if it serves and fits my schedule. We may say we're too busy for prayer, for fellowship, Bible study, forgetting that discipleship often calls us to rearrange our priorities, not protect them. We talked about this in our Band of Brothers this last week. We were kind of working through the whole idea of, how much time and when and where should we be spending time with our relationship with God. And it's very easy for us, isn't it, guys, to say, you know what, I'm so busy, I don't have time. And yet as we were talking, we realized there's time. We just don't prioritize it. We need to prioritize that. Even in ministry, we can serve with one hand on the clock. I struggle with this. I struggle with this a lot. I'm there at my desk, and again, I've got kind of limited time with other things going on, and so I'm trying to study, and all of a sudden, can I slip under my desk so they don't think I'm here? Now, I would never do that. I don't fit. But I look at a big part of what my job is as pastor is interruption sometimes if I get my eyes on myself instead of being a follower, a disciple of Christ. And don't we all do it? Some way or another. Maybe it's your office, maybe it's a grocery store, maybe it's somewhere else. But we are hesitant to let God interrupt our time that we've already set aside for what we want to do. How about this one? Emotional safety. How many times do we withhold forgiveness? How many times do we refuse to be reconciled with somebody? Oh, but Pastor, you don't realize how much that person hurt me. And you don't understand, if I open myself back up, if I drop this boundary, you know what's going to happen, right? You're just going to hurt me again. I can't go through that. I get it. Again, there's a place and a time for boundaries like that. But if God has put you in that person's life in order to be a witness, to be salt in their life, and you're sitting back saying, nope, I'm not going to do it. I've got my boundary, and I know it's kingdom, but I don't care. Personal concern over kingdom concerns. I'll give you just one more. Personal preference. I can't do that, God. That means I'd have to talk to that person who's of a different political persuasion. Or worse, they're Packer fans. I can't love that person because they don't line up with my thoughts, my agendas, my preferences. So we create these boundaries that prevent us ultimately from following Christ. And I realize I am not the one who saves people. I am not the only way that one person or another person is going to get to heaven. But I just kind of wonder how many opportunities have I missed to be a part of that life-changing moment when someone comes to Christ because I really don't like that person. Or that person's just a little too dirty. That person's just a little bit too far out there. And so I'm going to put up my boundary. We could look at a whole bunch of different ways that this come into play. But listen, how many times do we use our own man-made boundaries to justify not being obedient to God? We choose to live out our preferences as opposed to kingdom concerns. Surrendering this right means making sacrificial choices. Not for my good, but for the good of others, the people that God has put in my life. And ultimately, it's making choices for the good of God's kingdom and his mission. There's a number of other rights that we can look at and encourage our life groups when you get together this week. Talk about what other rights do we hold on to? How many different entitlements do we as Christians have that we hold on to, we refuse to give up, and that are standing in the way of us following Christ on his terms? Ultimately, we've got to understand that if we're going to follow Christ, if we're going to be true disciples, there's a couple things that have to happen. Number one, we have to understand that our freedom in Christ is sacrificial. God's given us freedoms. He's given us the ability to do things and have choices. But you know what? When we hold on to the freedoms he's given to us tighter than we hold on to the one who's given them to us, right? When we hold on to the privileges we have as Christians as opposed to holding on to Christ, we've completely missed the boat. Isn't it what the disciples were doing over and over again? We saw this guy casting out demons in your name, but we stopped him. Right? He said, no, it doesn't have to be a part of our immediate circle. Well, we want to know who's going to be best and first in the kingdom. No. Give those things up. Because it doesn't matter. We've got to be willing to sacrifice. And that means that our rights, right, these privileges we think we have they should really be ruled not by our heart, but by kingdom priorities. Our desires, our comforts, our entitlements should never be a greater priority than what God has laid out. And thirdly, we've preached this now for several weeks. Surrender is a necessary part of salvation. You cannot follow Christ if you will not surrender to him. There's just no way of tweaking or rewording Christ's call to discipleship. Deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow me. That is completely about surrender. And the reality is, as long as we're holding on to our preferences and our desires, we have no hands with which to pick up that cross and follow him. That's what we're called to do. We are called to true discipleship, extreme, upside-down discipleship. Is it difficult to serve others when we want to be served? Yes. Especially when you live in a world that's just so focused on me, me, me. Yeah, that's what Jesus calls, right? You want to be the greatest in the kingdom, you need to be the least here. You want to be first, you need to be last. with Christ, we need to surrender our pride, our sin, and our rights. It's not easy. It's not what we want. It's not the bent that we naturally have. But this is the calling of a true disciple of Christ. Think back to the 12, right? The 12, they thought they had surrendered everything to Christ. And what we see time and time again is him going, oh, there's something you didn't give me. There's something you didn't give me. There's something you haven't surrendered to me. Don't get me wrong, they gave up a lot. 98% maybe. But they're still holding on to it. And that's the risk that we run as disciples. And Jesus made it very clear, yes, you're going to have trials. But if you want to remain salty in the good way, you must surrender everything. Jesus doesn't promise comfort or safety or recognition. Instead, he promises something even greater. He promises himself as Lord and Savior, as Redeemer. And if we really take that eternal perspective that we've talked about, if we really start to see things from that angle, what do we find? The treasures and the toys and the trophies and all the things that we gather in this world are nothing compared to the glory that we will have with Jesus Christ. I hope that you've seen over the last couple of weeks that extreme discipleship isn't so much about radical action as it is about radical surrender. Jesus pulled his disciples aside from the journey, from the ministry for a period of time, and he says, guys, I want you to get this. Following me means trading away your pride and your sin and your rights. All to be obedience. That's the refining fire that God puts us through. And when we learn to hold Christ tighter than the things of this world, we'll be good disciples of Christ. Discipleship is not defined by what we gain, but what we're willing to surrender for Christ. I challenge you, today and days to come, look at your life. What are you holding on to? What are you prizing above all else? If it isn't Christ and if it isn't the kingdom, there might be an issue in your life with surrender. If you want to be, well, we say extreme, but Jesus simply says a disciple. If you want to be a true follower, you have to surrender everything. Would you stand with me and let's pray. Father, we thank you. Again, just for this passage, it's been convicting, it's been hard, it's been encouraging as well, though, simply because the reality that we realize we can't do this on our own, but you have given us the Spirit, you've given us everything that we need in order to follow you and to be faithful. So, Lord, we pray at this time that you would help us to be willing just to take that radical action, to deny ourselves, to pick up our cross, and to faithfully follow you. God, help us to just eliminate all of the things that get in our way of being true disciples. We ask this in Christ's name.
Great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, thy compassions, they fail not. As thou hast been, or ever will be. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy sun, moon, and stars in their courses above. Join with all nature in manifold witness to thy great faithfulness, mercy, and love. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Pardon courses and a peace that endureth. Thine own dear presence to cheer and to guide. Strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. Blessings all mine with 10,000 besides. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me.
It's because of the faithfulness of God that we're able to stand in the trials. Don't look at the circumstances you deal with as God abandoning you or just throwing you into the sharks, right? He is there with you in the fire. And he wants to use that fire to refine us, to make us more and more like him. We must be willing to follow and surrender. If you're part of our nursery and junior church team, make sure you head into this room real quick. It'll be a very quick meeting because we got a Sunday school class in there shortly after. But find out what you need to know. If you're interested in helping with those ministries, great place to be as well. All right, let me pray and we'll be dismissed. Father, we thank you again just for your faithfulness. We don't want the fire. The reality is we're just too comfortable with our dross, with our impurities, with our sin. The truth is, God, that we don't love you as much as we love the things of this world at times. And so, Father, I pray that you would work in this church, work in my life, that I would love you more than anything else. God, help me to surrender. Help us to surrender our pride, our sin, our rights, our everything. Pick up our cross and to follow you as we've been called to. Be with us this day. Be with us in this week, that we would be faithful, that we would be obedient in everything that you call us to do. God, help us to see those many opportunities that you give to us, the people around us who just need a little bit of Jesus, a little bit of salt. Help us, Lord, to be salty as we follow you. We love you, and we thank you for all of your work in our life. In Christ's name we pray.